Welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? Shave soaps are probably one of my favorite soaps just because they exfoliate. But you don't need to really classify them as shave soaps if you don't want to. But everybody has their little tips and their little tricks on what to make a great shave soap. I have 3. So if you want to follow me along and find out what they are, let's go check out this video on shave soaps. And here we are to our patchouli shave bars. Now, I told you there are 3 tips I was going to give you with this recipe, and I really don't know if you want my recipe. You can just, do your own thing if you want to. But the first one that you will see as I am putting my oils in here, I'm going to show you how I do my oils. It's going to be really boring. No. The first thing is I don't put any olive oil in my shave bars. I know. Oh, gasp. Oh, why? Why not? Well, there's a reason. Because one, the lather, okay? It kills the lather. It's slimy lather that lacks the rich, cushiony, stable foam required to protect the skin from a razor blade. I'm reading that off online. Actually, it's the nerdy farm wife who I think she's the one, or else it was Classic Bells, who basically when I first started soaping was like, don't put olive oil in there. Here comes my second tip. Stearic acid, which is what is in that blue bag. The stearic in your fatty acid profile on Soap Calculator should be at least 40%. Now, when I first started making shave bars, I was using full-on cocoa butter because that is very high in stearic. But I've, over the time, adjusted because learning about stearic acid and just adding more stearic acid to boost that percentage. Also, cocoa butter and shea butter. We could call this a triple butter shave soap, which I actually don't do, but I actually could because there are 3 butters. But yeah, it's all a thing. What are you gonna do? But definitely no olive oil because of the slime factor, the type of lather it produces. Can you? Yes, absolutely. I've seen lots of shave bars with olive oil in them. Maybe if you're trying to up the oleic portion of your profile, and you want to add 2, 3%, 5%, sure, go ahead. But remember, you're going for the big bubbly lather. I have not tried doing this without coconut oil. So I'm sorry to say I don't have I could do some testing, but that's something I really don't want to test. So I'm sorry. Maybe one day. And of course, castor, you want a good amount of castor, 5 to 10%. 10%, I soaked at 10% castor in all my early soaps. And everybody's like, oh, don't do that. Why? They were great. I do it now even. Some soaps I don't, depending. But a lot of them, they're between 5 and 10%. Usually closer to 10. So what else is in here? We have the castor, the coconut, the kokum, the stearic, the sunflower. There's a little bit of sunflower, so you could sub that with olive oil. There's a little bit of tallow and shea. Now, for more big bubbly lather, I use half distilled water and half aloe vera juice. So, see, we could be like, yay! It's an Lye-Triple butter bar. Yeah, shave bar. And when am I putting them into my lye water? Well, my typical lye things. I always add sugar. I always add salt. And I always add citric acid. Now, I'm not going to get on the citric acid boat train and have the badgering that, citric acid is made from black mold. No, it's not. Do your research. The 2 molds aren't even the same mold. You can't. Okay? So, citric acid, yes, It's a thing. It actually turns into sodium citrate with the lye. So it's no longer citric acid, it's sodium citrate, which is a chelate in my soap. And so this is a dual lye shave soap. There's so many things I could do here, you guys. It's dual lye, meaning I'm using potassium hydroxide, which is right there, and sodium hydroxide, which was the first one I poured in. When I adjust my citric acid for the lye, I'm not gonna lie, I love potassium hydroxide. It growls at you. Because I don't mix my lyes together, which I could do, I adjust for the sodium hydroxide that way and add extra sodium hydroxide. Okay? If you know, you know. I just don't want to teach anybody that. Here we go. My oils are cooler than normal. My lye is cooler than normal. Just because, you know, I've learned a thing or two. And, you know, and the way it attaches right away when I poured it in, that is attaching to the stearic in there. Now, don't stop here. It is not emulsified here. The amount of stearic in here, I'm going to blame it on the stearic, okay? Because I don't have this problem with any other soap. And it's going to go through, it looked all grainy, it looked all mashed potato-y, but there, when you hit that point where it just releases and lets go, and it's beautiful and shiny, that's where I want to be. Now, I cook this maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, I'd say. I always check it. I check it after 5 minutes, and then I check it at 15-minute intervals, and just when it has really nice consistency. Now I am prepping my additives. So this is shea butter. Don't ask me why. I've always added the shea, which is the super fat, at the end. I think because it was easy to do. For this scent let's talk exfoliants. This is my third tip. Lots of exfoliants. Absolutely. So I have kaolin clay, of course. I have oatmeal, colloidal oatmeal, and I have pumice powder. Yes. Could you wet these down? Yes. Could you mix these with the shea? Yes. Do I? No. For some reason, I never do. I just like mixing the soap. So, yes, a good time of mixing. So into the first container with shea and my fragrance oil, which I'll talk about in a little bit, I'm adding turmeric powder for the color. Okay, this shave bar actually doesn't have any micas or anything in it. It's going to have just herb and green clay, French green clay. Did you know there's a difference between French green clays? Yeah, I did not know that, but doing lots of research, it's amazing what you find out. So this is the second colorant. They are mixed with the shea butter and the fragrance oil, which is a blend of patchouli fragrance oil and vanilla chai. I didn't do a 50-50. I did more of a 60-40. I leaned more into the patchouli because I wanted the earthy scent with a little bit of the sweet. Okay? Did I nail it? I'm going to have to go get a bar and check it out because, you smell it, 2 days later. After the cure is when you really need to smell your bars. After they are done curing. That's when I like to smell them. So when I go get a new one for an end photo, I will let you know. But mix it up really well. And the funny thing is, you've seen me hot process. For whatever reason, is it the high stearic? I don't know why, but this thing stays fluid as fluid can be. My water is... okay. It's a 3-to-1 water ratio. 10% super fat, which isn't... So the water 3-to-1, I usually do 3-to-1. in my hot process soaps because, you know, it cooks out how much of it anyway. So I want something I can work with. Yeah, so cutting it in half approximately, and then I'm going to put half into there. You're going to ask why. It's simply because I can't tip that big container over my mold, right? I'm just afraid it would be a disaster to try and pour that into my column mold. So I just put it into the 2 containers and, you know, called it good. So there you go, into the mold. Sorry, you're not going to get a very good view because you're right over the top. Yeah, so just pour one in, and then I pour the other one in, you know, give them a swirl so they all get a little bit of the turmeric. Did you notice I didn't tap that down? I was really wondering about that later. Like, did I actually tap that down? Because when I cleaned up my bowls, I made a little flower, which is on top of that mold. And then later on it settled, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't tap it down. So I tapped it down, and then I put the flower on top just as it was curing or, you know, cooling. But there it is. Beautiful. The green clay didn't stay. I didn't put a heavy amount in there, so it's not going to look bright green. I like the turmeric color for the patchouli, so that's kind of why I just went that way. Could have went heavier. Could have removed the kaolin altogether and just used green clay. You know, that's an option too. These are beautiful. I love these in the shower. If I felt like shaving my legs, I would show you the lather. We could probably do a lather test, you know, just to show you, like, look at how these are. They're just fan-freaking-tastic. Oh, yeah. But those are my 3. No olive, 40% or higher stearic, lots of exfoliants. Okay, so you're going to have to give me, like, this thing has not been used yet. And I can't use my son's bowls because, you know, they're all being used. So I'm going to steal his shave brush. But the first thing you do with a shave bar, if you're not in the shower, is you wet the brush. And then you start creating your lather. And my thing is slipping. My shave soap is slipping around. Okay? And you want to create humongous, luscious lather, right? That is the whole point. So you can see this isn't giving me that big bubble like a coconut, you know, soap would. But this is going to give me nice, creamy, thick lather. Oops. I think I need a little more water. I always forget that. Gotta add a little more water. Oh, this is nice. This is cool. Like, okay, like you're really going to get the nice thick lather out of this. There we go. It's on the brush. I should have took my other son's brush. His was warped. But, okay, so this is not sitting in here very well either. So all my suds, all my foam is in the jar. How do you like those apples? Huh? Look at that. You can have all, and it's foam, you guys. It is foam. It is thick, luscious foam. And what have I been on here? Like just a couple. Not very long at all. So, it is great. Just great. Look at this. Wow. Here are the fragrance notes for these super foamy bars. Here are the bars when I first cut them, and I will tell you the green has come through more. Here are the bars when they are totally cured. How was that for a bee in your bucket? Do you use shave soaps or do you just use regular soaps to shave? Or do you use the gel or the foam? I think the most important part, if you're going to shave actually, is make sure you exfoliate the spot before you do it. I mean, beards are different, right? Because they're just, you know, like if my husband shaves, he just, you know, he just lathers up and shaves and then after shave splash on it. But, you know, for women, like our hair on our legs, well, maybe some of you it does. The hair on my legs doesn't grow as thick as my husband's on his face. So if I exfoliate, whether with a really good washcloth or the shave soap a couple times over, you know, really get it, the area good, I can get a nice clean shave that lasts for quite a while. But I don't really have the thick, pokey hair either. Yeah, my friend did in high school. I felt sorry for her because it's like, you know, it's just a thing. Just a thing. So anyway, 3 things to take with you. Be kind, be forgiving, be you. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by. I will see you next time, and God bless.